This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Ryan Mead, the CEO of Fulcrum Metals, coming back from a site visit to Canada there. And of course, we've seen a lot of media going out. I know you wanted to show the tailings there at surface and really demonstrate to investors the scale. We caught up briefly when you were in Kirkland Lake there. And of course, a big part of that trip was to go and see the First Nations as well and start that engagement. But thank you for joining us. How are you, Ryan? How are you feeling, first of all?
Yeah, I'm very well. I've recovered from, the jet lag coming back from Canada from what was, an extremely positive trip for us.
Good.
It included site visits, meetings with First Nations, and we're very happy with our progress on those fronts.
Good. Well, quite a comprehensive RNS out on Monday, of course, really spelling out and making it clear the different parts of your trip and what you achieved. And I did notice, you actually got your hands dirty. You and Mitchell were actually doing some auger sampling. So, I mean, how was that? What was that like to be actually doing some geological work?
You know what? I actually love going out on sites and getting my hands dirty. I think it's an important part of understanding the projects that you have. Going through the whole process of the auger sampling. But the real benefit, and you touched on it earlier there, and that is recognizing the scale of these tailings. These are ore bodies at surface. So we don't need to go and find them. They're visible. You can touch it. You can stand on it. You can see the gold when you pick up the tailings material in your fingers. So, we recorded, some drone footage, which you'll see on the socials, and some photos on there. And you get to see me and Mitch out there in the field, contributing to the company's efforts on the geological front. So it's fantastic.
Well, I did notice some of those videos that went out, and I think there is one where you've got the tailings in your hand, and you can sort of see the shiny. I think the shiny element, which is basically gold, isn't it? But in micro form.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what it also shows is how finely grained these tailings are. We've touched on it before in a previous news release with the leach testing, that we don't need to regrind or mill these tailings, but you can see how fine these grains are. And like I say, you can rub these tailings on your fingers, let them dry out a bit, and you can see the glittering all over your fingers, which is the gold. So it's to be able to do that, to just literally walk out on site, pick up this what looks like dirt, and actually realise, hey, there's gold at surface here. We don't need to go 50 metres, 100 metres or 300 metres. We don't need to go and find it. It's there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's there at surface, and like you say, almost sand-like. So in theory, when you come to process, yes, you bring a bulldozer, a front wheel loader in, and basically scoop it up and take it off. In theory, I did notice as well from the RNS that you talked about, you've mentioned it there, that you really want to demonstrate the scale, but also determine the amount of gold in the project. And I noticed that you've applied for drone-based surveys. You've got ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR as well to assist with mapping and understanding the extent of these tailings bodies here. But are you also wanting to go for a 43-101 to actually almost really define technically the gold that is there?
Yeah, absolutely. So the work so far, we're coming off a database that we know it's mine waste. We know that there's gold in there. There's historic auger samples. So on a first basis, what we focused on is actually extracting the gold off the property, which is the leach testing work of extract, which has been fantastic. And I think in the RNS on Monday, if you read into it, we hit 59.4% recovery rates for gold. Past extraction testing with direct cyanide leaching got around 30%. So we are already setting new benchmarks with the work that we're doing. But what we also need to do is recognise that investors want to know is, what are we going to be extracting? So that's a focus of the work that we're going to be looking at now, and that's going to be through geophysical drone-based surveys, which can be done relatively quickly and give us an exceptional amount of information in terms of volumetrics, composition of the tailings, have a look at the direction of water flow subsurface. And that's going to be, subsequent to that, we'll follow up with auger sampling to really help define, not just the spread of the gold grades on the surface, but also at depth. So it's going to almost give us a 3D model as we move forward. And people will be able to see what base we're working from. So we're focused on putting, figures on the gold in the ground, and obviously the work with extract and the leaching says how we're going to be able to get this gold out and how much of it. I think maybe the market is thinking, we're reliant on the work from extract, but that's not true. That's just the start of the work that we're doing. So, we're going into a key development phase for the tailings projects. Like I say, I can't stress enough that this is a tailings body. It's at surface. So over 0.5 gram a ton gold. You're seeing mines underground, 3/4 of a gram a ton, and they're having to blast, transport the ore up to surface, crush, mill, pre-treat. We don't have to do any of that. So we're very excited about the opportunity we have here. We're just trying to demonstrate and get that across the market so they can be as excited as us.
Well, yes, communicating that message is important. This is work that you can do whilst, of course, the ongoing sampling and testing is going on with extract. So you're not, as you say, completely sort of just waiting for extract to come back. It's work that you can do, the team can do, through the different surveys, through getting people on the ground doing further sampling to actually demonstrate technically what is there in the ground. But also you mentioned different leaching routes to market. So this is also looking at not just the extract process, but perhaps other processes as well.
Well, the leach process, that's concentrating on maximising the value of the resources in the ground on full field development. We're going to be going out there with, to obtain geophysical data. We'll obviously be doing extra auger sampling. And we're looking into doing bulk sampling on site, which would produce concentrates to really assess all of the routes to market and actually show to the market, there's so many options available to us, not just in demonstrating the value of the resources in the ground, which is significant. The video there, we drove over the tailings body at Tech Hughes. It's well over 1 kilometre in length. We know the depths are between 5 and 9 meters. So it's, if you can get your calculator out, I think it's pretty easy to illustrate actually, or realise that we're a very small company, but we've got some really, really big prospects and near-term cash generation opportunities and a lot of optionality. So what we're focused on is off-site technical studies which is what we're doing with extract. We're going to combine that with on-site technical work streams which will envelope the whole project, and it'll allow us to push on quicker.
Okay, and from the videos there, I do see you driving in the truck there, in the pickup with the drone, of course, like that. So it's like a clearing, isn't it? If I remember correctly, there's forest, then there's sort of quite a large clearing. Is that all sort of the tailings area?
Well, the access is fantastic for us. It's straight off a gravel road. Within 5 or 10 meters of driving on the property, you're driving on top of tailings.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
The tailings itself was deposited on top of marshy land, so obviously you've got natural features there like tall trees and rock exposures, and it's really harnessed all of the tailings in that area.
Okay.
Now you do see, the tailings have been there for 60 years. There has been, a minimal amount of vegetation regrowth. Well, actually, what we found is that this regrowth was actually where the slurry pipes were originally laid, and these wooden pipes had given some nutrients into the ground. So you're seeing, minimal vegetation growth. But, there's, it's largely fairly barren with, fine grasses. But you literally, as soon as you go on that property, you're on tailings.
Yeah, okay. And in theory then, would you, if you get round to processing these tailings, you would effectively rehabilitate that, and would you sort of look to turn it back to marshland or do something else with it? This will tie in, of course, to your visit with the First Nations and perhaps what they would want to see in the area.
Now, that's a very interesting opportunity for not just ourselves but the local communities. You say, um, we get the great thing about this. We get to recover the gold. We get to reclaim the area. So, and that gives the local community a chance to decide what happens here.
Mm.
We remediate it, reflood it back into a marshland, or this is 2-minute drive outside of Kirkland. It's a fantastic area, great location. They might want to have another purpose for it, which could create secondary industries, which would be fantastic for the area.
Okay, I mean, how were the sort of discussions with the First Nations? What reaction were you getting? Was it really early stage discussion, or were there some sort of light bulb moments going on maybe?
Look, we've been engaging with First Nations for quite a few months now. So it's great to actually get face to face with some of these groups.
Yeah.
Now they recognise that there's an economic opportunity from the gold, but also as environmental stewards of their territories. They also recognise the fantastic opportunity for reclamation, and as part of that comes optionality and flexibility on what they would like to be done with the lands. We could put it back to its original state, or it will be land that's been essentially cornered off, which is now available for use.
Okay.
So, a lot of options.
Okay, yeah, so they're open to the options. Yeah, they're open to the work being done.
I think the important thing is the inclusivity. From the outset, we've been engaging with First Nation groups. They recognise our efforts and transparency on that front, and they want to be part of it, quite rightly. So it's I think it's fantastic that they view these projects as both economic and environmental benefits to everybody, and that they want to be involved with us and they're supportive of that. So
Okay.
I think
Good.
I think it's fantastic news for Fulcrum shareholders. It's fantastic for the local stakeholders.
Okay. Good. Well, it's the final question, Ryan. Of course, I know the historical sort of resource or estimates was around, I think, 200,000 ounces. But if you're going to be getting on doing some work on that 43101, we can obviously be keeping tabs on how that work is going and as you progress down that route. But of course, the other very important element is, of course, the extract and that licensing process, the term sheet that you're working on to get that exclusive licensing. So just give us an idea of where you are in that process and when we might hear some significant developments from the extract testing.
Yeah, I mean, we're continuing with the extract testing. Got very good relations. We're obviously still discussing what the licensing agreement will look like. We've made significant progress over the last couple of months on that front. What I would stress is we actually don't need a licensing agreement right now. There is the 4-phase testing program, which essentially gets us to the point where we know all the economics of the project and we can have a licensing agreement that makes sense. So the fact that we are working with Extract on these projects means that we will be working with them on these projects, and we are. What it means is that actually we're, between ourselves and Extract, we're taking, the most flexible route to, how we license this technology. And right now, we don't really need a licensing agreement right now, but I think for the benefit of both Fulcrum and Extract, with future development and in the tailings market in Kirkland Lake and Timmins, I think it sets a very strong background for a collaboration.
Mm-hmm. So what do you need right now? Demonstrate to the market what's in the ground and continue the testing process.
Yeah, absolutely. So we put dollars on in the ground figures. We show that the on-site technical work to deliver that resource, and we can demonstrate or illustrate just how big these projects are. They're not small. 2 projects, multi-million tons, lots of gold on there. And obviously with extract, we're focusing on how do we get to the end product? How do we extract the resources? Now, the fantastic news is we can extract these gold. 60% recovery rates is quite unbelievable, quite a breakthrough moment, actually. And we continue to optimize. So there's a lot of news to come, a lot of development. And I think, with the added on-site and off-site technical work that we've got, people are going to see the picture come a lot clearer, much quicker than people think.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, as always, Ryan Mee, the CEO of Fulcrum Metals.
Thanks for having me, Mark. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Okay.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.